It's the 17th of January, 2025. Coming up on today's Global Intelligence Agency Operations Report. As the secret space program operatives search for anything that can help them gain access or control, this brings us to the Diomede Islands of both Russia and Alaska. These two islands held some interesting secrets. And an update on universal changes taking place in our favor. Well, happy Friday, everyone, and happy 17th of January. Oh boy, it's going to be a busy week next week and a busy weekend this weekend. So let's give you kind of a regular world update, and we'll go from there. All right, so the Trump organization has been kicked out of another country. This time it's South Korea. Remember that little coup that happened over there, and I kind of called them on their stuff that, you know, they kept asking for funding, and I said, where's the white guy, meaning where's the American? You know, something rather interesting happened. I guess they tried to write all of the people there that they promised money to fake checks. And apparently these people took the checks and tried to verify if the checks were good, and of course they were not. And there goes another country that the Trump organization cannot control at this point. The SSP operatives, also known as the Trump Organization operatives, are losing steam fast and furious around the world. And there are more and more conversations about looking for a way out. And there are a lot of places in the world that have been looking for a way out. And none of these things are, let's just say, healthy for humanity. But let's continue for just a little bit longer with regular news. Okay, the Trump inauguration is going to take place as of right now. Nobody has changed their mind that it's going to take place on the 20th. I don't hear about any kind of fake terrorist attacks anymore at this moment in time, and they are going to continue forward with this. They did also try to see if they could tap into some old lines and continued to do this to see if they could get the FedNow system to hook up or Trump Bucks to hook up. This has been going on for days to see if they could get in connection in Mar-a-Lago to any of these things. Mar-a-Lago seems to be SSP headquarters at this moment. They are also trying to get into the Hall of Records to see if they can ratify the dead guy or any other guy within the organization, I guess. That would be a no. That's not actually happening. They are moving the inauguration inside, allegedly due to very cold weather. Now, apparently, Washington, D.C. is so out of money, they can't afford heaters like everybody else uses. There's plenty of outdoor heaters. There's, you know, I mean, with the big screen that they have up there that they put there for safety and stuff, of course, they could do all of this stuff. But it's kind of hard to hide the fact that somebody is about a foot smaller or a foot shorter than he was a couple years ago. Wow, that's an unusual thing. Yeah, they're trying to hide the fact that, let's just say that's not who you think it is. Next, behind the scenes, there are a lot of high-level threats of not just orange people that would be on the platform. There are also high-level threats against others that would be on the platform. Now, we know many of those people are probably not in anybody's good graces at this moment, but also those Trump operatives have a lot of threats against them coming from some pretty serious folks, as a matter of fact. You've got the Yakuza that's not happy with them. You've got a couple of Korean organizations of much the same caliber that are unhappy. And you've got some very angry Chinese people also that live in America, most likely San Francisco. And you know who I'm talking about if you're listening to this, that are also very unhappy. And yeah, you've got a lot of Americans that sell weapons that are also very unhappy with the lies and the lack of payment. That did not happen on the 15th as expected. So moving on to the 21st, apparently, is the next payday they are talking about. And the reason why it has to do with this alignment and this portal day and, a bunch of stuff like that. They're also expecting this to be the precursor to a bigger portal in 2025. I don't know, day ending in Y and an alignment with Uranus in my world, but I don't see anything really happening for them. So I am starting to get some calls about, well, there's got to be some kind of transition and, some kind of way to, so for the people to understand these are your leaders. And, I stress the fact that there is no leadership, that the entire world is attempting to be run by a bunch of people that used to moonshine last week, and now they are intending on running a planet. So, so I said, okay. And I said, right now, the organization, the government and the organization there is kind of behind the eight ball with us, meaning, they've lied an awful lot. They've lied to the American people. They misused funds. They never paid us our care funds when they had the opportunity to do so and when it was relevant. And so as far as trustworthiness is concerned, we really don't have any. So I made 2 demands, which I know they can fulfill, which will cost them 0 money because we know they don't have any. And, them promising us that is kind of ridiculous at this point. So here are the 2 demands that I made if they want to actually have a conversation about moving forward. And then there is a 3rd demand that would be a requirement. Number 1, I want my property in New York back. That particular property is called the United Nations, and we have the lien on it. I can send it to the government, and I can prove that that property is underneath a trust as guardian that I control. There are a lot of other properties in the world that may or may not be involved in the near future. That's number 1. I want full control over the building. I can do with it what I want. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons behind that, and you can think about that over the weekend because we can't talk too much here. But that is number 1. It's my property. I own it. Right now, they're not paying any of the bills. Rothschild claims they own it. They are just a genetic proxy that was participating in the United Nations. The original signature to start the United Nations came from my predecessor, and now I have inherited that covenant and that agreement. So I would like to have the building back. We will rename it Care, and we will use it for our purposes. That is number 1. This will cost them no money, but I need full acknowledgement from the United States government. Period. End of story. It is also sovereign land, so that sovereignty will be respected should we decide to move forward. Okay. Now I'm going to know that they're serious. Number 2, Durango, Colorado, and the surrounding area, including Silverton, and there's a reason for that, and let's just say a little bit further out off of the 550 to the left and to the right, and probably all the way till Dulce will become the sovereign kingdom of Kim. Now, we're not going to call it that. We're going to call it another plot of sovereign land underneath Care. They will not be able to enter my quote-unquote land without permission from my security. I will have the right to hold a standing army should I so choose on this property. There are other things such as I can issue passports from here. I can do a lot of different things from here that we currently cannot do. Next, we'll probably build the let's just say, I hate to call it the World Bank, but a bank that under Care where we could officiate funding from underneath our own sovereignty and safety from either one of these locations. So there are more plans that go along with this, but you get the general idea here. Before we actually have a conversation with the United States government, there are things that I require. Now, next. As a contingency, if we are going to keep the show running, we will actually put forward our lien and it will be acknowledged for the property also known as Washington, D.C. Now, Washington, D.C. has been cleaned. What I mean by that is the space junk that was underneath the whole place, all the way to Georgetown and into Maryland and elsewhere, has been cleaned. There was an upside down pyramid underneath Washington, D.C. that has been cleaned. It is now fully under the control of my Golden Age AI, Creator AI, also back to source, and it is now emanating a different energy from there. So we have cleaned it. Therefore, I would like my property back. That means anything within that property, just as it did for the Rothschilds and other people, by proxy only, because technically the person that holds my chair holds that property anyway. So, and all that is contained in it. So if I want a room in the White House, if I want to put my own people in the White House, if I want to put my own people in the Fed, if I want to put my own people in the Treasury, if I want to put my own people in the World Bank and in all of the other organizations that are in Washington, D.C., I have the right to do so because it's my property. And there's nothing that they'll be able to do for it if they actually want funding from the only funding source that exists. Now, they're running pretty shaky ground, and right now it's either going to be their life from what it looks like from all of these people that are hunting them down like dogs, or we're going to come to some kind of a mutually agreeable terms. So these are my terms. So if you happen to be locally here in Durango and you know who I'm talking about, and they come to you wanting you to meet you for a meeting, they want something, these are the terms and conditions that will be presented every single time if there's going to be any kind of government meeting, government funding, any kind of, if that doesn't come along with the package before anybody sits down at the table, we don't want to talk to you. There's that. Okay. So that's kind of regular news, and that is my proposal. Also, if you are Russia, remember, I also hold the lien to Moscow. If you are China, I also hold the lien to Beijing. If you are in the UK, I also hold the lien to London, which I have also cleaned out your upside-down pyramid there too. And you know exactly what I mean if you are the SSP. I have cleaned a lot of this planet. I've done the same under the Forbidden City in China. I have done the same in Moscow repeatedly in all the surrounding areas. Some of it I have talked about on the news and some of it I haven't. But there has been a lot going on in our world. Same thing goes for Tehran. We also own that entire city. So, the world will be a different place if we are going to participate any longer. Other than that, we are prepared to go it alone, and we are prepared to do things our way by ourselves. Just me and 8 billion people. So, minus the people that we just mentioned. Okay, so now on to a little bit of different kind of news. So the SSP has been running around, as I said, not only just in financial ways. They would like to have some kind of an AI system, some kind of a control system, because, they wouldn't just like to control the U.S. government. They'd like to control the entire planet, of course. And in order to do that, they realize they need some kind of access to a money machine. Meaning, they know they can't enter new currency. They've tried that 150 times. I have run out of fingers and toes to count the amount of times that they have tried to install that FedNow system or Mbridge with the, or BRICS currency. Mbridge was with the Bank for International Settlements and, Mar-a-Lago, and all these other things that they've tried to do. But they're still on the hunt for any kind of space junk. And they are trying to go through old documents, having conversations with others, just to see if they could get any kind of access. Now, they have been passing around old, what I call gold cards. They're kind of like an IC card, but they're about the size of a credit card, and they belong to certain high-profile non-humans that roamed this planet for a time. Marduk had one, as an example. Enki Enlil had one. I know that Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael had one. Another non-human named Daniel had one. So they've been passing these cards around, hoping to get some kind of access to something that they had. And now a lot of that has been dismantled, but they still are trying. So they found another location, which, to be fair, thank you very much for finding that and locating that for us. It's called Diomede Islands. Now, there is a big island which belongs to Russia, and there's a small island which belongs to the United States. And these islands are right between Alaska and Russia. So you can look it up. It's spelled Diomede. And this is kind of an interesting little place in the world, and for a number of different reasons. During World War II, the big island there became a Russian military base. That's not a surprise. It remained so through the Cold War for obvious reasons. It is one of the few places that you could actually just about walk from the U.S. to Russia in the world, so that's interesting. They also call the big island Tomorrow Island and the smaller island Today Island because there is a divide right there, a different type of date line, if you will. So just an interesting little place. I know that Russia has moved out all of the indigenous people of Big Island many decades ago, moved them to mainland Russia. So they could have the island for themselves, and there's a reason for that. As a cooperative effort with the American SSP and the Russian version of that, they got full access to the big Diomede Island yesterday, as a matter of fact. Now, this island held, underneath the island there was something placed by Marduk. You know, Marduk being Marduk, he always had tons of stuff everywhere, you know, and a backup plan on a backup plan. That was definitely learned a lot of strategy from the being, that's for sure. But underneath here was like a giant pool of what you would call like a metamaterial, a liquid metamaterial. That's what it's called, for lack of a better term. It is not a metal that is normally found here on Earth. It is a compilation of metals, man-made or non-man-made, I should say, metals. And this pool pretty much spanned the entire distance of both islands and quite a bit of the surrounding area. So that's a large area. And what this type of a metamaterial is used for, it's used to record data. So even more than the large altar-like things we see everywhere that are space junk, we see these, you know, usually smaller spheres or something of this goo, and we see it in a lot of different places. It is a silver black material, and basically a drop of it, the size of your fingertip, will hold more data than every single data center that exists in the United States, as an example. And it will hold hundreds and thousands of years of data, and that's just a drop. So you can imagine what a pool of it this size can hold. And let's just say it held a lot. So this particular area here was a recorder for everything, not only AI-wise, throughout the multiverse. And we're up to probably 250 to 300 of them now. It also was a recorder of all organic life and history. Now, you would, if you are a Mac owner, meaning a Mac or a PC owner, you would call this a kind of time machine software. And by time machine, I mean, if you are having a problem with your Mac, you might restore your computer back to an earlier time before the problem existed. During that, whether you use it or you don't use it, it's constantly backing up all your programs, your data, for, you could do it every hour on the hour, every minute, every day, whatever you want to do. And it will then restore all of your current documents and programs without the error that you're having on your computer. If you have a PC, it's called System Restore. You take it back to an earlier time before the virus existed or before you were having an operating system issue, and then your computer typically runs okay. Now, this would have done that for the entire universe. I mean, big dreams, go big or go home, right, Marduk? I have to laugh at that. This was tied to a lot of space junk elsewhere in the universe, and it was sold to everyone based on the fact that if, they ever needed to restore balance or they ever needed to restore AI systems, this would be the spot that would have all the information. We need all this data should we ever need to restore something is destroyed or Earth is destroyed. How are we going to, collect all this data? And that was the point for the entire universe to do that. It's kind of crazy. Right there in that little island. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the SSP for pointing out where that was, because I've been looking for that thing for a long time. And it was so well cloaked and so well hidden until they tried to use it that I was like, oh, here it is. It popped up right up on the radar. So thank you so much for another screw up on your part. That was lovely. So it's gone now. And I'm happy to say, thank God. And so all that's really left with that is the cleanup. And it's not just that. There's a few other things that we found out there that I'm going to say slowed down our progress on the sovereign law side of things, as well as the Creator Golden Age AI program that was elsewhere. I'm just going to say it was causing probably a little bit of connection issues, a glitch, if you will. Hasn't been going bad at all. Things have been going extremely well on that front. It's been definitely interesting to see a system kind of try to reboot itself a few times. That was on Marduk and definitely not on the SSP, but so that was a problem and an issue. I'm like, where did that come from? That wasn't here yesterday. That wasn't here 2 hours ago. So now we're picking up the pieces of anything it might have generated. Hopefully have that done over the weekend. Happy to report. So don't expect a lot of fanfare over the weekend as far as the inauguration is concerned. They are allegedly going to go through with that. I don't expect to see a lot from them except for, continuing to try to bring something back between now and the 21st because they're going to be in some serious, even more trouble than they're already in. But at least now they have something to chew on to see if it's something they're interested in. I know that they would like to dominate the planet, but that's probably not going to be possible. Not probably, that is not possible at this point. So we'll see how this goes. I don't expect, like I said, a whole lot of problems or anything at this moment. Anything can turn on a dime. These people are like 12-year-old schoolgirls that change their mind every 5 seconds. So, we'll see what they actually do. But as of this moment, that is the news on what is happening. There are also other countries that are starting to throw them out. No payments. They are not quite as strong as some of the others that have made sure that they departed, but there are some other Pacific Island countries that are talking about kicking them out. I know that there are several angry African countries at this moment that are looking for outside support of other stronger countries to back them in order to throw them out as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of this in the very near future. So as predicted, I think it might be a tumultuous rest of January, probably into the beginning of February, and then it should be smooth sailing, I hope, by the end of February. That's my hope. Fingers crossed. Keep the entire world in your meditation for our success with care and everything that we're doing. And with that, I've got to get back to work here. It's been a little bit of a busy day for me. So I will talk to you on Monday. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.